When you look at the dragons, what do you see? It's important. What do you see?
I suppose I see us.
Tell me.
Everyone says Targaryens are closer to gods than to men. But they say that because of our dragons. Without them, we're just like everyone else.
The idea that we control the dragons is an illusion. They are a power men should never have trifled with. One that brought Valyria its doom. If we don't mind our own histories, it will do the same to us. Targaryen must understand this to be king. Or queen.
And welcome back to another episode of the Wrap Up, the show where we take a look at last night's episode of House of the Dragon, episode 5, Unbowed and Unbent. That's the title of the episode. And joining me today, as always, is my co-host, Evan Harris.
Glad to be here. We're officially over the halfway point of season 3, episode 5. We have 3 more episodes left, episodes 6, 7, and 8. No more 10-episode seasons. Rest in peace. But I'm excited. This was another good episode. I think this was a solid 8 out of 10 for me. I liked a lot of this was a lot of discontent. Like, no characters were like joyful in this episode that I can think of right now. You know, Criston Cole's literally having his apocalypse now moment. You know, there's problems in the city for Rhaenyra and Daemon. Alicent and Helaena are dealing with issues of their own. Aemond, things aren't going swimmingly, even though he is accomplishing some stuff. But, you know, his parentage of Darren continues to be a very interesting talking point. And then there's some stuff with Mysaria, Larys, and Aegon are having their own issues. Alice and Aemond. So every character is really going through a lot in this episode. And I can't wait to break it down with you.
Yeah, I feel like this episode, if you wanted to put it in a category, even though I hate this criticism, you could categorize it as a filler episode where on paper it might seem like not a lot happens, but a lot actually does happen. Again, with what you just established with all of these characters and their storylines. But yeah, I really enjoy what we saw this week. And yeah, like I was just watching the episode again, and I had to pause it to jump in right here in the podcast. But that scene with Aemond, still one of my favorite characters in the show so far, even though he was just barely introduced. But yeah, like, where do you want to start?
Interesting. Let's start off with Criston Cole's campaign. Let's start from the beginning here. But yeah, I'm with you. Just going back to what you said about the whole filler comment. I'm with you. Not this is like uninteresting. This is very interesting. But I think what's so important is that, like, these are building blocks. These are the episodes that we must get, because, you know, we always have to go back to the worst case scenario, Game of Thrones season 8, where things are happening so fast. We didn't get these building blocks. We didn't get these necessary episodes where we're seeing our characters visually dealing with and complaining about the problems that plague them. This is what I really wanted for Rhaenyra specifically, in terms of, okay, you have your castle, you have your kingdom back. Now she's dealing with a lot of this stuff. And episodes like this, and especially like last week, like, these things are going to create a ripple effect, I guess, in terms of like her paranoia and her mental state. If we skip past this stuff, the effect of the mental state will happen. We know what's going to happen, but like, it wouldn't hit us. It wouldn't affect us. Like, episodes 4 or 5, like, these building blocks are able to be like, okay, I get why this eventually happened, which is also important because, again, we don't want Daenerys burning the city and being like, where did this come from? Like, these are stuff where it's coming from. Like, all these things are going to coalesce together.
Yeah, and to go off of that, like, I even though, like, again, we kind of like established this as sort of a filler episode, I like that this episode kind of, I mean, the whole show has always been like this political thriller, but this particularly paired with episode 3 feels like that. And I like that the added element of like almost like a murder mystery with what's happening in King's Landing.
I did not expect that. Me and Jen were like, that's our favorite genre. We're like, wait a second, Daenerys is like kind of like he just got out of Blue Bloods, like walking around, like what's going on here in my city? What's going on here? Like I love that shit. I did not expect that at all. Cannot wait to dive into that because I love me a good murder mystery plot. Even though I do have a small issue with it, I don't know if it's small or big, but we'll talk about it. But either way, I want to start off here with Criston Cole's campaign, and I want to kind of encapsulate. We can just talk about Criston Cole entirely because he is separated from the narrative.
And the Riverlands,
in the Riverlands. But I really like this. It is, slightly repetitive. We had this complaint about Alicent last season in terms of like, different scenes, but she's still mentally dealing with the same thing. And it's kind of like we get here with Criston Cole, like different scenes and engaging. Again, I compare it to like Apocalypse Now, where it's just like Vietnam War flashbacks and like a lot of this chaos trucking through the mud with the same ultimate goal of like, yeah, I want to die, which was established last season a lot and established this season, specifically just last episode when they realized Rhaenyra had taken King's Landing and Aemond is not coming. We saw Criston Cole like look super dejected, but I do like the full effect of it here. But anyways, we start off here with Criston Cole and his men doing surprise guerrilla war tactics. This is exactly what he talked about with Gwen about like, hey, we are not going back to Old Town as Gwen really, really wants to do, reunite with his family, the Hightowers. Instead, we have Criston Cole trying to stop Oscar Tully and a lot of the white beards, the Starks, right?
Greybeards, Winter Wolves. The main guy, the leader, like the older guy. His name is Roddy the Ruin. Roddy, yeah.
That's a cool
name. Well, it's Roderick, but Roddy short.
Roderick. I like that. Oscar, Roddy. They're all like, yeah, this Criston Cole motherfucker. He's crippling us at the knees. But Oscar's like, we just gotta get to. The main goal is to like get to something steps. What is it? Rocky Steps or something like that. Like we got to get there first before. Where is it? The Stony Steps. Yeah, we have to get to the bridge at Stony Steps, and then that will make our trek to Tumbleton even faster. I did take note that this was. They said because of the delays, it'll be like a week away before they can actually get to Tumbleton now, as they're dealing with Criston Cole's men and trying to get them off their hair. So it's looking like that battle that we saw in the preview of what's to come last week or 2 weeks ago. Looks like there might be not next episode, but maybe episode 7, penultimate episode, a big battle, I guess, as Game of Thrones tends to do, big battle, penultimate episode.
Just to double check, there was no preview, right? I didn't miss anything this week.
I did see a preview for next week.
Oh, there was? Oh, okay.
Yeah. I forget what happened now. Criston Cole was fighting. That's why I remember he punched somebody. I remember that. That's all I remember now. So yeah, so there's some boxing going on next week, but I think the real battle is going to be episode 7. But either way, I like Criston Cole's guerrilla tactics. As they're talking, we cut to another character who's looking behind a tent. They see some dead men, and we see Criston Cole is actually like pursuing this guerrilla war tactic in motion right now as he and Gwen burn up this tent. And they're also like, hey, the Tullys, the Rivermen, they're trying to get to Stony Steps. We got to get there first. So it's a journey to get to Stony Steps first. And we see by the end of the episode, they do not get there first. Narrator's like, it did not happen. But that's the journey of this episode, trying to get to the bridge at the Stony Steps. Say that 5 times fast. But what I liked about it, I liked a lot of like, the war paint they have on them. I was like, this is kind of interesting. We don't really see. We talked about having a new like murder mystery plot, but we don't really see like this kind of like ground
war games.
War games. Like most of the conflicts in Game of Thrones is just like classic battle on battle shit. But like I like the kind of like sneaking around and maneuvering that we're seeing here from Criston.
Yeah, something that it just hit me right now, like as I was rewatching half of the episode right now. Even though we don't see a lot of Roddy in the show so far, which I do think not necessarily problematic, but like I feel like we should get a little bit more so we can get attached to this guy before the show ends, before the season ends, really. But a thing that really struck me was how both him Roddy the Ruin and Criston Cole are kind of like in a similar path, at least in the show, in the sense of all the Winter Wolves, the Greybeards, they come down south knowing that they're not gonna come back north. They're on a suicide mission, and they don't even want to come back to the north. Um, they are old, and they feel like one of their traditions for these Greybeards is that they don't want to take away any supplies from the women and the young back in the north. So that's why they're the first ones to be sent down south to support Rhaenyra, and it's basically a suicide mission. But like instead of having this like sense of impending doom, they kind of like welcome it. You know, the very first line that he says in episode 1 when they meet Daemon on the field, they're like, "Oh, we come to die for the Dragon Queen," but it's not it's not sad. It's like the sense of glory. And then you pair and contrast that to what Criston is doing, who is very much on a I want to die arc, on a suicide mission as well, but like he just like totally devastated again, like as we've been comparing to like, you know, Apocalypse Now, like what even is the point type of thing. So that's been very fun. I do wish we got a little bit more of again of the Winter Wolves, but hopefully we'll get some of that next week. I really like the kid that plays Oscar Tully, so anytime that he's like interacting with anybody in the show, it's always like a welcome addition.
Yeah, it's crazy how much older he's gotten in like the time skips between seasons out of universe. You can tell, like, you were just a little kid in season 2, but now it's like, you know, just 2 years. Like it's crazy how much these actors can grow between seasons. But yeah, he's so good. Like seeing all that confidence in him compared to last season is just, it's so much fun to watch.
Also, I love just like, I don't know what would you even call it, like this. It's not foreshadowing because of, you know, the Starks and the Tullys have always had this relationship, but like almost this like thematic parallel between this relationship and like how close the Starks and the Tullys are in Game of Thrones in like the early seasons, because obviously they got married to each other at some point. They joined houses, so just seeing like again the Winter Wolves, all of these Norsemen with these fishermen, the Tullys, just like it's a cool little like detail that is on the books, but like it's nice seeing play out in the show.
Yeah, hopefully we do see some. I love watching Oscar. I love the scene, you know, 2 weeks ago when Daemon heard about Jace's death, and it's like they're all just partying. Like I want to see more of these people outside of just these short glimpses.
Yeah, Oscar reminds me a lot of Rob Stark, like this young, like
high praise
leader type of thing. It is, well, until it blew.
Until it isn't. Maybe Oscar doesn't want to go against any phrase. But so yeah, they're delayed about a week. Cole sneaks around camp. But yeah, continuing on with Criston Cole, the next time we see him, let me go through my things here. The next time we see him, I think, is like the horse traps, right? The cow traps.
They thought they were ahead of the Riverman, and now it's like the reverse.
Which they should have been, right? From what we saw, it's like, okay, they delayed the men at the camp with the fire at the beginning of the episode. Cut to the next day, maybe the next day, a couple of days later, they're on their horses and they're trekking ahead. And it's like, okay, they should be ahead because we just delayed them. But as Gawain mentioned, I don't know if it was this scene, earlier scene, or a later scene, that like, hey, for every 1 man of us, there's 20 of them. So with their vast numbers, it is much easier to comprehend how they would be able to get ahead, even if they were delayed a little bit by the attack. It's easy for them with more men to get ahead of Criston Cole eventually. And they do. They, you know, I was wondering, like, what is attacking them? I thought there was some kind of like, wolf or something on the floor. I was like, am I missing some kind of like freaky animal? Yeah, some arrows or something. But no, it's like horse, like cow traps, really like these pointed weaponry on the floor, really
crow feet, I think they call them.
Yeah, crow's feet. Yeah, it was really, really hard to see. You know, I hate when horses got to take the L here, but it was funny. What's up? Love this episode. It felt like old Game of Thrones, which is time someone puts Cole out of his whiny ass misery.
I will say this season in particular has felt a lot like classic Thrones, more so than, and I love season 1, but season 1 has like a very specific self-serious tone to it.
For sure.
And I love it, but it is its own little thing. Season 2, we've talked about season 2 a lot.
The first half of season 2 was very strong.
Yeah. Even the second half, like on rewatch, it didn't bother me as much. Yeah.
The
But
Rhaenyra
but it
stuff
is
just comes to
repetitive.
mind. The Rhaenyra
Yeah,
stuff and the Alicent stuff comes to mind. But yeah.
yeah. But like this season in particular, again, like the stuff with Criston Cole, the stuff specifically with Ormond and Tumbleton, the stuff in King's Landing with Daemon, Rhaenyra, it just feels a lot like Classic Thrones.
And we've always said like they're juggling the storylines, but they're not doing it too fast. They're making each scene really have its time, have its moment. There's some great monologues in this episode from a number of different characters, Ormond, Criston, stuff like that. So I really love the character work in these episodes. It's so strong.
Yeah. Even the stuff with Larys and Aegon feels like a demented version of the Hound and Arya.
Big time, for sure. So yeah, thank you for the comment. Keep on leaving some comments if you're watching live. Like and subscribe, ring the bell. We go live every Monday. But yeah, like the Criston Cole campaign continues on foot now. Their horses are down. And what I like about this simmering, what do you want to call this between Criston and Gwaine? Gwaine admires, does he admire Criston? There is like some kind of like friendship going on here that has persisted since season 2, where Criston kind of rubbed Gwaine the wrong way initially because the whole Criston and Alicent
and vice
thing.
versa.
Yeah, like the Criston, he saw the Criston and Alicent thing going on. He's like, she gave him her handkerchief. Like, what's going on here? And then Criston kind of annoyed by Gwaine, but like over time they've like been through a lot of shit together. He comes to Criston when there's like all of that sexual assault happening in episode 1 or 2. But then like he's slowly losing faith in Criston. In this episode, kind of like is the feather on the camel's back, kind of like breaks everything.
Yeah. Well, to recap a little bit, like the way that their relationship started was, I believe one of the first conversations that they have is, it's Wayne kind of like giving him like some passive aggressive compliment of like, oh, like look at you come from like low birth, and now you're like hand of the king, the role that used to belong to my father type of thing.
Awkward.
And then like they get attacked by Bela in that one episode in season 2, and it's one of those examples of you saying of Cole kind of being annoyed by Gwaine, because one of the original plans that they wanted to do was they wanted to stay at inns instead of on the forest, like on camps, which would make sense because Wayne comes from noble birth and he's expected to be treated like some kind of like noble lord, high lord.
Yeah, not when there's dragons in the sky, buddy. Come on, this is a different war.
Yeah. So it has been fun to see their relationship develop, and I do agree with you where it's like in this very fragile, like the solution, especially from Wayne's perspective, the solution point in their relationship of like Criston has lost faith in everything, and it's making him even harder to connect with, just like even like on simple conversations. Like you mentioned the stuff with the sexual assault early this season, and she's just like dismissive about it. It's like, well, what do you expect? Like we're at war, type of thing. And again, like I've compared Gwaine to an extent to like a Duncan type of archetype of like this guy who wants to see the good in everybody, but he just keeps getting disappointed by what he sees. And one of the things that he says at some point to Criston in this episode that I really like that is like later shown to us is the conversation that he has about Ormond, about how like Ormond was always like a sore loser type of thing. So again, like he's constantly being disappointed by even people in his family, and like now that he developed this relationship with somebody outside of his family, and now he's like being disillusioned by that too.
Yeah, I like that a lot because he was talking about how like Ormond was so like they used to play chess a lot at the old Hightower place, and he always used to let Ormond win because Ormond would get really crazy if he loses. Cut to Ormond losing chess to Darren. We'll talk about that in a second. But like, yeah, like Ormond isn't really the best person. I used to let him win at chess, but like you can tell via these discussions, Gwaine's solution. Because this, again, we talked about how it is kind of repetitive, but Criston talked about this last week in terms of like losing faith and like trying to just go to war, just battle it out. And Gwaine's response in this episode is to give Criston a light at the end of the tunnel. You don't necessarily have to go to battle, Criston. You can just come with me. Let me tell you about all the funny stuff at Old Town with me and Ormond. Let me tell you about like how you can become a house knight. He's giving Criston an olive branch here. Like he's saying like, hey, you don't have to go through this shit. I kind of want to go to Old Town. My solution is to play like good cop. Let me be like the good guy. I'm trying to rub Criston the right way here, trying to egg him on, put a smile on my face despite these awful conditions, and talk about good times that we can't have still.
It's almost like the classic scene of the wife trying to stop his husband from going to war.
Yeah,
but like in a brotherly sense.
Like, bro, like we can remain tight. I kind of like you. Like I like how you said remind me of Dunk, because it does remind it, because we'll talk about that later in the episode, but like Duncan and Criston has a unique sense of knighthood, which I think runs a little bit, it's much more of a sad look at knighthood, where it's like, we have nothing, we just have honor, we have to go to battle, which isn't something that like even Dunk would say. It's like, yeah, we have honor, but that doesn't mean we only can achieve honor through battle, through grit, through struggles. That's not necessarily what Duncan would say about that knighthood, or even Duncan's master, but just like, this is Criston. He's lost a lot of faith. This is the only thing he can really fall back on, is that combative side of him. Hence, Criston talking about, hey, I am the greatest warrior in the realm. Like this, he's really like,
who told him that?
Like he's really backing stuff on. I mean, who told him that? His pedigree has told him that, right? Like this guy shouldn't have the status that he has.
The kingmaker, yeah.
Like the guy shouldn't have this. This guy was from a poor. What was Criston's house? Old house called? But like he come from like lower class. His father was nothing. What?
Well, he's from like somewhere in Dorne.
Yeah, Dornish. Like he shouldn't have this kind of class, but he is now head of like the High Tower of the Green Army because of his battle accomplishments. He did beat Daemon, once or twice, like a couple years, decades ago, in universe. But I wonder how Daemon versus Criston will go nowadays, with a more mature Daemon. I don't know. It'll be a fun fight.
Honestly, probably the best warrior in the show is Aemond.
Yeah,
we'll get to it. We'll get to it.
Aemond should have had no reason to blitz those guys. Those guys are trash. Hey, we'll talk about that.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah.
But what's it called? Yeah. So like Criston talking himself up as the greatest warrior in the realm, alongside what a knight should be, really goes hand in hand with kind of the person that Criston wants to be when he dies. He wants to die being the greatest, like, on his tombstone, greatest warrior in the realm. He wants to die like that. He doesn't want to die, and hopefully Alicent hears. I love the line where it's like, and hopefully, songs will be heard, and maybe Alicent
she'll read it.
She'll read it or something. Like he wants to have some kind of like legacy. He doesn't want to die by dragonfire. He doesn't want to die, with just sipping tea, being another house servant. Like it's like, I don't want to be another house servant. I want to go out being what I'm good at, not just standing idle and getting old with my master. That's kind of not his style.
Which also reminds us, this is not the first step that, at least in the show, that Criston has been in this like suicidal path through battle or fight. Like, let's go back to season 1, like after the wedding episode 5, after he kills Joffrey, Laenor's lover. Like, what does he do? He goes to the Godswood, and he's about to knife himself, stab him. Yeah, there you go. And who's the one who saves him? Alicent. And like, again, like the fact that he's thinking about like dying and like all that, but like maybe hopefully Alicent will read about my last great triumphance. It's like it's all part of the arc.
I'm so fascinated. I've totally forgot about that. I love that episode. I think we were talking about that. Like, it's so like Alicent was his light. Like Alicent, he is so consumed by darkness, getting betrayed, quote unquote, by Rhaenyra, having nothing to back him. But then Alicent comes out of the Godswood to really rescue him from the darkness. And it really has persisted. He has been that, like, like that, so connected to Alicent. It was funny because Alicent talked about Moon Tea and related to Criston Cole in the past. But it is just, he really admires Alicent. He wants to go out kind of just like doing that. Meanwhile, Gwaine, again, what makes it so fascinating, Gwaine has a different sense of knighthood. Like, living this shitty, adventure, trek or whatever, just based on orders to, I mean, not even on orders. Like, they have no orders to even be here. This is all Criston Cole's pledge. But, like, he's just saying how being a knight isn't going through these hard circumstances. We can still survive. We can still follow our liege. Because Gawaine's whole thing was just like, help out the green, help Aegon remain king, all support your family, stuff like that. Like, that's kind of what he wants to be with knighthood. Support your family, support the people that you pledge your life to, not risking your life. And that's why, that eventually helps break Gwaine away from Criston. But how did you interpret Gwaine to look? I love when the camera zooms in on Gwaine when Criston's talking about, like, he's going through his whole suicide speech that we just talked about, and Gwaine just like looks at him. One of them tears up. Was it Criston or Gwaine? One of them, like, there's a tear that drops. But I feel like Gwaine really feels for Criston genuinely. If I heard my best friend saying like that, and me slowly realizing, oh, he just wants to die, like, it is kind of sad. Even and Gwaine does have to separate from Criston. But I wonder what do you think Gwaine was feeling through this?
I mean, it's probably what you say, but it just reminded me of season 2 when he's giving that speech, and like basically we talked about this being a little bit repetitive, but that scene of him like giving basically the same speech and Wayne looking at him like, what the fuck is wrong with this guy? Type of thing. So it's probably just that. It will be fun though, as we're wrapping this section of the episode. It will be fun to see how maybe his interaction with Criston maybe changes some of his perception on the war, and how that's going to play out between Wayne and Ormond now next week, because he's going back to Tumbleton. So we'll see. And I don't know if you wanna stay here in this area, in this territory, and go to either Aemond or Aegon, because those are two characters that are kind of like very closely linked in this episode.
Very interesting. Let's talk about them both, because there is a point where they both start talking about
blaming each other,
blaming each other, which is very, very some delicious character work. I love the writers of the season.
Some Viserys Daemon, but even more fucked up.
Really fucked up. Like, oh, Aemond has everything. Aegon has everything. It's like, oh, you guys both have everything. But let's talk about Aemond here. Let's do Aemond first. It's a little bit shorter. But we cut to Alice first off, meeting a new group of mercenaries. So time has passed, mercenaries have, she talks about like this isn't the first time mercenaries have gone to Harrenhal on
there's
behalf
a contract
of
now.
Yeah, there's a contract, a bounty on the person who can find Aemond, and they all go to Harrenhal because the realm knows a big ass dragon flew towards this castle. Where the heck is Aemond? Nobody can find Aemond. I do love the bats, like some Batman Begins type shit. I wonder if that was on cue or that's some magic shit. She just like hides in the floor, runs away.
Yeah, well, I believe the sigil of the Herons who built the castle was a bat. So it's
really? I didn't know that. Okay, cool. But yeah, so that kind of scares him away. The ghost. Alice really is kind of like a ghost, kind of witch kind of thing. But eventually, we do see Aemond here, and I like that we cut to like he lost. Or he lost like his eye patch. You really see like the glint of his like left eye there.
You see the ruby,
the ruby, or sapphire. I don't know, but
sapphire. There you go.
It's so fascinating seeing Aemond in this weakened state. Like he has been so high and mighty and confident on the back of Vhagar, which I think he does talk about in this episode too, in terms of like where's my dragon? Because Vhagar, similar to Rhaenyra in a way. Like these, like Rhaenyra's all about the dragons. The gods gave me legitimacy, and Daemon's like the dragons give us power, legitimacy. Same thing for internally for our boy Aemond here, in terms of like Vhagar gives him power, legitimacy. Without Vhagar, he feels naked. So even the absence of Vhagar, which is being tracked across different storylines in this episode, it affects internally Aemond here. Without his dragon, without his like skillful abilities, what really is he? And he's dealing with a lot of these visions of Aegon. I wish we get to see this, but
yeah. I fuck you guys for complaining too much about Damon's visions, because it feels like this is just a response of like, okay, you guys didn't like it, so we won't do it again.
Like, come
It's still there.
on!
It's still there in spirit, very much. It feels like it. But I would have liked to see some visions.
Same. He talks about like Aegon dragging him down into the depths, and I'm like, I want to see this. I want to see Aegon like drowning Aemond, or Aegon.
Show me, don't tell me.
Show me, don't tell me. Right? Like we hear Aegon's laughter. He's laughing at me, which might have gone towards Aegon when Aegon was laughing at Aemond in season 1 during the brothel. Maybe there's
season 2, yeah.
Season 2, like maybe those laughs were used then. But either way, in contrast, these laughs are alongside the lines of like more so Aegon, or maybe Aemond's guilt towards what he did to Aegon, burning him, which is very interesting character stuff, because we haven't seen Aemond really care all that much about what's happening to Aegon. In fact, he wanted to kill. Yeah, he wasn't really remorseful. Yeah, thank you. He wasn't really remorseful. He wanted to kill Aegon in like the beginning of the season. But now he's really getting affected by it.
You talked about that scene in season 2 at the brothel, and between that and this, it feels like this is really the first time since when they were like those episodes when they were still children, where Aemond feels like a little kid again. And I find it interesting that we talk about how after he claimed Vhagar, he just gained like this sense of like, I don't know what you would call it, confidence or confidence, and just a mix of confidence and just being like way more careless or ruthless, even to his own family. But like now that Vhagar is away, it's almost like he comes back to reality, comes back down to reality, and he's that little boy again. And like you mentioned, like we haven't really been seeing him be remorseful, even in his time in King's Landing. If anything, he was acting even more ambitious during the council scenes of him, like taking over the city. But now that Vhagar is gone, it does seem like it's finally hitting him of what he did. Maybe at least.
Maybe just a little bit. And this is similar to how in season 2 we never really thought that Daemon would be ever remorseful to how he was treating Rhaenyra, treating his own brother, but we really saw that in effect via the visions. And now we're seeing that here, something we never really expected, a remorseful Aemond really taking shape. And I really like it. And I do like, in contrast to like Daemon having to really do this on his own, and Alice was kind of more so, because this is a different relationship between Alice and Daemon and Alice and Aemond, right? Like Daemon never really cowered in Alice's arms like that. They were kind of like a brotherly, sisterly kind of vibe here. He slowly grew to more so trust Alice and trust her sayings and visions a little bit, in contrast to Aemond, who is struggling with these visions, and Alice is becoming more so of a motherly figure. Like this, it's not so romantic. It's more so of like a motherly relationship.
For the Aemond, it might be, but
maybe. But like he even says like mother. Like he whispers mother to Alice.
He's asking for help when Daemon was too proud to even ask for it. Even though like he would take the advice, but he wouldn't even really like say thank you or appreciate the help really. 100%. But yeah, I really like the dynamic. I saw somebody compare the Alice and Aemond relationship to Phantom Thread, like in the sense that she's kind of like Phantom Threading him, of keeping him sick enough so she can control him, but like on good shape. If he needs to get dirty, then he can get dirty.
Yeah, he can still box. But it is just so fascinating seeing this relationship take shape. I thought something more romantic would happen when Alice first hit Aemond, but we are dealing with less so romantic and more so like, again, that mother-son protectiveness kind of vibe going on here. But I like all of that. I like seeing Aemond in this shape. I think Ewan is really acting this phenomenally well with his new like, just even without all that armor and embroidery on Aemond, just seeing him in his more frail state is just so fascinating to see.
Yeah, and you pair that with what's going on with Aegon, and man, I really like this stuff. Probably one of my favorite scenes of of the season so far is, they're walking through the woods. Aegon hits something, or he's just like in pain because of his leg, and he's just constantly complaining. And uh, Larys is trying to handle it, but he gets yelled at, and there's that line from Aegon of like, "Stop telling me what I can't do," type of thing.
Mm-hmm.
And Larys goes on this speech of like, not only were you like a terrible king, you're just a terrible man. And you can just see like that line getting under Aegon's skin, not just because obviously if somebody tells you that, like, you're gonna have some kind of reaction, but it's also the fact that he's right. And like, if he was in a position where he was back in King's Landing and he was in good shape, that he could just like have Larys killed, but like he can't even do that because he has to depend on him still. It's a really fascinating dynamic.
It is so fascinating. He has to depend on Larys, even though internally he knows he has to. But outwardly, he's like, I shouldn't have to. I should be able to go on my own. I should be able to fight on my own 2 feet. But Larys is kind of all he really has. And what I found so fascinating is that like he throughout all this, he still is after Aemond. And I was just laughing throughout the episode or throughout the scene. I'm just like, what does Aegon hope to achieve? Does he want to die by Aemond's hand? Because granted, he doesn't know how weak of a state Aemond is in right now, but he is talking about like how I want to kill Aemond. I'll take
Or die in
vengeance
the
on
attempt.
Aemond.
Yeah.
Or die in the attempt. Very Criston Cole-esque. Everybody wants to die. And yeah, and then compound this with Larys calling him a terrible person. It really focuses Aegon towards focusing inward before going outwards towards Aemond, even though he still blames a lot of his stuff on Aemond. I loved seeing this so much. Dealing with, oh, I'm a terrible person, instead of really dealing with a terrible person versus, complaining about Aemond. One of my favorite lines is when he says like, oh, Viserys, my father used to, because Aemond had all these skills. And Viserys used to put him in the tourneys and not me, which again goes straight to like I first thought of like House or Night of Seven Kingdoms. So like, yeah, he internally he thinks like, oh, my father favored Aemond more, my family favored Aemond more in general by letting him be in these tourneys, by training him up and not me, rather than realizing, oh, maybe Viserys valued me more, and that's why I wasn't allowed to participate in the tourneys, because the tourneys are dangerous. Hence, again, the Night of Seven Kingdoms, where we lost a crown prince of the realm because these tourneys can be dangerous, and anything and everything can happen. Rest in peace, Night of Seven Kingdoms. So it's like maybe in a sense, Aegon was being protected by his father, so he wouldn't die. But in contrast, Aegon is still just taking that as, oh, he just values Aemond more because of his skills and High Valyrian and all this kind of stuff, which is just such a fascinating dynamic to see take place.
Yeah. And there's not a lot of stuff that happens with Aegon, but like one of the things that I've found kind of interesting with some of these Targaryen characters in this episode is that all of them, so one of the main things that Daemon keeps telling Rhaenyra about her legitimacy to the throne is that you have these signs, you have the dragons, embrace the dragon type of thing. And you see that with Aemon, and finally getting out of bed and using the sword against all of these people, this Valyrian Targaryen sword. And then later on we see Aegon doing the exact same thing with one of Sunfire's scales, and to kill that guy from Rook's Rest. And it seems like we're finally gonna see maybe Rhaenyra do something about what's happening in his city against Ormond through dragons. So there's this like thematic thing about all of these Targaryens embracing the dragon type of thing, which is something that Daemon has always been telling people to do. But yeah, that has been fascinating. And like going back to what Aegon does with the scale with that one guy, we learned, as I was hoping, that Tywin Lannister is alive. He just shows up. I don't know where. I don't know how did he know that Larys and Aegon were gonna be there. I don't know. Doesn't really matter, I
Doesn't
guess.
matter. We're good
Because
here.
the conversation between him and Larys is really really fascinating. And again, it feels very classic Thronesy of like, oh, let's go back to Lannisport. Let's go back to Casterly Rock. And Larys immediately, the first thing that comes to mind is like, oh, do you want Casterly Rock to be the new seat of the king, type of thing. And Larys is always scheming. Larys is always thinking about what's going to be the next move, even though it would be like a good idea.
Hey, he's looking out for Aegon. Hey, come on.
Yeah, but again, like I like this that now this dynamic that started as a duo and now it seems like it's gonna become a trio. And just the reaction of what the fuck did you just do of Aegon killing the guy, and like now we're gonna have to deal with this. Maybe we'll see that in the next episode or the one after. But
I feel like they could probably just sweep that under the rug, even though that guy wasn't that the guy who said like "kiss my boot."
Yeah, well, he was the leader of the little.
So that might cause some issues. Actually, I figured they would just skip over that in the next week's episode, but maybe not. But yeah, this is interesting, right? Larys, in calling Aegon a terrible person, really giving him that tough love that eventually works, right? As Aegon eventually comes back to Larys, it says like, okay, fine, call the ship. They're going ready to leave. Larys has Aegon under his thumb. The tough love actually worked. Insert Tywin, and like you said, Tywin is always scheming, wants to go to Casterly Rock and not the East. He'd been there. He had sex with all those pirate wives and all that kind of stuff. He doesn't want to go back there. It's not good for Aegon. It's dangerous over there. Let's stay over near my home, Casterly Rock. So maybe in the episodes to come for the rest of the season, we can see this trio dynamic, and in this trio, kind of like a love triangle of sorts, where Larys and Tywin try to influence Aegon to their own ends. As Tywin and Larys trying to control Aegon for their own ends, as Aegon is still struggling with himself, really coming to terms with who he is. Is he really a terrible person? We saw that affect him. And then he's like, okay, maybe I should listen to Larys. Maybe it did have an effect on him. But then he goes to kill somebody too, and he gleefully says, like, call me king, or like, your highness, or whatever he said. So it's like,
me your grace.
you can call me your grace. It's like that haughtiness, that that lineage aspect of Aegon is rising up again. It's like, is this going to give Larys some struggles when Larys is really trying to bring Aegon down to earth and control him a little bit? So it is interesting. We'll see where Aegon goes. Aegon really is on this like tipping edge. Of course, he's always going to lean towards like what he thinks he deserves, right? He's going to blame Aemond and everybody else but himself. But maybe, that was starting to diminish this episode, but then Tywin arrives, so maybe it might not. So we'll see where this goes for Aegon in the episodes to come. I love this dynamic so much. We'll see what happens. But yeah, I immediately thought of you when I saw Tywin appear. I was like, oh, Edgar was asking about this. There he is. Does it make sense? Sure. There's like the save point in the realms. Like everybody save your progress at Rook's Rest. Like, why does everybody come here? But okay.
Those damn Lannisters surviving drowning in their armors for
that big ass armor. Yeah, worked for Tyrion and worked for Tywin. Maybe they both did.
And Jaime.
And Jaime. Yeah, I forgot about that. So yeah, maybe it works out. But so we talked about Aemond, Aegon.
Now we have only really two locations: Tumbleton and King's Landing.
Let me see if I missed anything with Aegon before we move on here. Not really. Oh, but before we move on there to Tumbleton and King's Landing, what did we think of Adam and Bela? They're also on the search for Vhagar. They can't find Vhagar. I thought they would find him eventually because the episode kind of leaning towards that. But I guess that's for a new episode or next. Like, first of all, I have two things. The Aemond and Bela not Aemond. Adam and Bela. I thought it was more so because like last time, wasn't it Alan having that conversation with Bela by the beach?
Yeah.
I thought it would be like Alan and Bela might have something going on. Now, Adam is really like, hey, let Bela eat. Like, she needs to eat and rest. I'm like, What is happening here? Why is Adam so overly protective over Baela? This came out of nowhere, but like, he's very gentlemanly. So okay, whatever, cool. But then like, he was like really putting the flirt game on with Baela. It's like, hey, maybe we can eat together or something like that. I was like, what is happening here? So that is happening on top of what else I was gonna ask is like the whole Vhagar thing. Why is there any kind of like logical reason why Vhagar isn't next to Aemond right now? This is kind of surprising. No, okay.
I don't really know. In the books, it's most of what Aemond spends doing at this point in the story is just like burning shit around Harrenhal. That's it, basically.
Okay. So it is much more interesting here. But yeah, Vhagar's like a 50-meter long, size of a football stadium dragon, and we can't find him. How? That's bullshit. But okay, cool, whatever. Does he have like a cloak of invisibility on or something like that? It's very
Alice.
Alice has some magic. Alice did mention like Vhagar is afraid. Maybe Vhagar is like, dragon magic woohoo. I don't know, but like maybe Vhagar is just like afraid of the magic at Harrenhal a little bit there, where Caraxes really wasn't because Daemon wasn't really injured. Daemon was just like chilling on his own volition. So Caraxes like literally just like waiting for Daemon there. Meanwhile,
drinking water. Hydrate.
Gotta hydrate. Meanwhile, Aemond is injured. Maybe without that, like Vhagar is just like afraid of like this spooky area going on here. I mean,
you do have to remember, you have to recall that the dragons are an extension of their dragons and how they're feeling. Mm-hmm. Even in the show itself, like I remember one of the first like early examples of that is in episode 3, I believe. It opens with Daemon at the stepstones and he gets hit by an arrow, and Caraxes just starts going crazy, like screaming in pain. I think he was also in pain. And then like later in the season, we see Rhaenyra and her miscarriage, and we see like Great Lakes cutting back and forth between her and Cyrus, her dragon. So there are examples of that. So maybe Vhagar is scared, just like Aemond.
I wish we saw more of that. There's a great book series I've been reading called The Fourth Wing. It's going to be an Apple Prime TV show soon. Michael B. Jordan producing.
Gotta promote Apple.
But it is so interesting because in that book series, when a dragon dies, the dragon rider also dies. Like they have like a blood contract. Like they bond, they die and they feel pain together, which is very different. Because if the dragon riders died when the dragon dies in this series, the Targaryens would have been wiped out a long time ago. But yeah, that could be a reason. I do like that, their relationship there. But yeah. So, what is your thought on Baela and Adam? Like, is something going on here? Adam's really putting the flirt game on here.
I mean, it very much seems so in the show, but if I remember correctly, in the book, it's more so between Alan and Baela. But I think they might just be making like a point of the Velaryon sides of the family, just like becoming tighter with each other. And I mean, you can see that even in Baela's like wardrobe this episode. Like, she used to be like in all black and red, and now she's wearing like blue, like the Velaryons, like Corlys.
Oh, I didn't even recognize that.
So I noticed that right away. I'm like, you look different. What is it? Oh, it's the dress.
We have asked for more Baela scenes, but I like getting shit like this. I like getting more Baela scenes. This is what I've asked for. She is, it's small, but it's really nice to see like Baela really being like, I was like inches away from becoming queen of the realm. People forget that. Like she was so close to becoming queen. She wanted to be like, useful in battle. Like she thought she was doing something really important by going to battle, making a difference at the Battle of the Gauntlet, never expecting her husband to be Jace dead. So it really is affecting her. And I like that Adam is that kind of like that light, warm presence there, trying to make her smile, trying to make her like, I don't want you to starve. You got to hydrate. I don't want you to starve. I got to eat and drink.
Taking a note from Caraxes.
Right? So I do like this relationship. I think they will eventually find Vhagar, maybe not. But either way, I like them having this warm relationship. It reminded me of the scene on the beach. I like these characters. just doing stuff together and giving Adam something to do, because last episode is more so Alan and the father really working with Rhaenyra. But now we finally see Adam making some good progress there.
Yeah, I think also what this scene does is that you need to establish that people within Rhaenyra's camp, besides herself, actually give a shit about Adam out of all the dragon seeds.
Yes.
And given her like slow betrayal of like not legitimizing him and Alan, and how that's gonna be perceived by other people, and like that was just like, what would you call it? Strike one. Is there gonna be more between Rhaenyra and Adam? I don't know. We'll see.
That's a good point. And now he has he has Baela on his side. So if she loses Adam, does she lose Baela in a sense? Now that Baela and Adam are gonna have this connection. So that's very interesting.
And Corlys is already like 1 foot out of the
Corlys is already like, this is bullshit. So yeah, that was very interesting. But yeah, before cutting, which one should we do first? Let's say the best for last, but let's dig into Aemond, because we've all seen the episode now, of course. Aemond is the one responsible for the murder mystery going on at the King's Landing, so we'll talk about that at the very end. But we see Aemond here getting the note saying like, hey, everything's going according to plan. The account is still open. He is sending money to people at King's Landing to kill the Gold Cloaks. I have my issues with this. We'll talk about that later. But right now, I do like seeing Aemond have this like maniacal lens, while not being super like ha ha ha, right? Like he's still a very like cunning person trying to dismantle Rhaenyra from within. This is his solution to fighting a war against dragons. We see this in sharp contrast to how Criston is basically committing suicide in his war against dragons. We see Aemond really stick around and use his intelligence in this way to really cripple Rhaenyra's legitimacy, cripple Rhaenyra. By the way, before we dig in more with Aemond, is it fair to say now that the Queen of Bastards thing was directly from Aemond 2 weeks ago? The Gold Queen of Bastards graffiti.
Definitely.
That was definitely from Aemond, right?
Yeah.
Who said that? Like, who set it up? I don't know if he expected Rhaenyra to crash out like he did last week. But again, it's working out to really cripple Rhaenyra. First the Queen of Bastards, and now the Gold Cloak stuff. Like, my question at first was like, so Rhaenyra wants Daemon and them to target Tumbletown as fast as possible. This doesn't really affect the journey to Tumbletown. This doesn't affect the army's plight towards going to Tumbletown. If anything, Criston Cole was the one slowing down the army going to Tumbleton, not really Aemond's machinations. That wasn't really affecting the war for Tumbleton. But what it does affect, plus by the end of the episode, is just Rhaenyra's legitimacy, in contrast to what his ultimate game plan is to get Darren to seem the most legitimate with the gold coins and, just raise him up to be the true king. If his main goal is to stop Rhaenyra from being a good queen, diminish her legitimacy, that Aemond's plan is going pretty damn well, in contrast to like really stopping them towards coming to Tumbleton. Because that was happening regardless of all this mystery shit at King's Landing.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Well, I think what Aemond's goal here so far is, not only is he trying to like show her, illegitimacy to the throne, but he's just trying to provoke a reaction. Again, he's holding the people of Tumbleton as, cannon fodder, just the way that Cersei was with the people of King's Landing in season 8 with Daenerys. He's just asking for a reaction, like, oh, just come in and like burn your people type of thing.
Yeah.
And even those small ways that in which Rhaenyra does react, like last week with the Queen of Bastards, and she sends the Gold Cloaks into the city, into a flea bottom, and then what happens, and even Daemon in this episode is like, well, what did you expect was going to happen, type of thing. but like Rhaenyra is just like all over the place. Also, this season as a whole, in the sense that she's still thinking about Aemond. She's still thinking about Vhagar. We need to find Vhagar, to the point that Daemon even steps in and is like, dude, like, do you not see what's happening outside the window right now? Type of thing. So I like that little back and forth between Daemon and Rhaenyra this episode.
Which is also funny, real quick, because wasn't it Rhaenyra when they were overlooking at nighttime? It was Daemon and Rhaenyra. They're overlooking King's Landing, and Daemon's like, "We can conquer Valyria. You know, we have 6 dragons. You know, Aegon had 3, and we can remake old Valyria." She's like, "No, I want to be more like Viserys. I want to look inward, right? I want to feed the peasants, all this stuff."
Mm-hmm.
Cut to now where she's looking outward, not inward, and the rules have kind of reversed there.
Yeah, and yeah, I like that. I like what you said right there, because in that conversation in the small council, you know, we don't say this often, but like Daemon is the one who's making more sense out of the two.
yeah, it's very awkward because I'm like, she's like, "Why aren't you listening to me?" He's like, "Yeah, I am listening to you, but you know, he has to do stuff his way." And I agree with everything Daemon was saying in their conversation and in the small council. He's like, we gotta feed our gold cloaks. We gotta worry about what's going on with the gold cloaks first before ever looking for Vhagar and Aemond, who is scared right now. And like, yeah, Aemond isn't really a problem right now.
And another thread that came back from last week was the fact that they decided to give the gold to the people, to feed the people, to give them supplies and stuff like that, to benefit the people of King's Landing, of Libarum, and all those little towns in there. But like, what did that really accomplish for Rhaenyra? Again, it's a good thing that what she's doing, that she's trying to care for her people. But like, you know, even though they were probably not guilty of this, it was Ormond and his people that he sent that are like basically, you know, spies in the city. You gave, from the outside, it looks like she gave money to the people and they were like still ungrateful, and they decided to like still call her like the Queen of Bastards. And that's what exactly how Daemon is seeing it right now. And it's like that conflict of like, well, you did that, and what did that accomplish when we could have used that money to, you know, pay the people that are trying to protect your legitimacy to the throne.
Exactly. It's really awkward because like, where did that money get us? You know, we feed the people, but the next day we beat the people. So it's like
money that he got for her from the Vale.
Right? So it's like, oh God. So we already upset the rich, the people who backed us, but they're rich assholes. So we took their money. They don't like us. The peasants, we give them food. They like us for 24 hours. 24 hours later, after that, we beat them up trying to look for the Queen of Bastards graffiti. Not good. And now they lose faith in their own security in being hysterical because of the Gold Cloaks, you know, decimation. So it's like they're losing a lot of legitimacy, a lot of power, a lot of security within her own back door or backyard. It's not good at all.
Yeah. One of the things that I do like.
And Miss Arya, this is your job, right? Miss Arya, woman of the people. Where are you at? We'll talk about her. But yeah, it's like,
yeah.
That's your job.
But I do like the frame and device of this scene of this small council meeting, because, you know, I forgot her name, but the lady Frey, she comes in and she's invited to the council, and she's like looking around like, what the hell is happening? And like Tori Manderly is like, whispering like, oh yeah, like this is what's happening over here, like we like loudly whispering and like bothering Daemon as he's like trying to like give this speech about what's happening in the city. Hilarious stuff. I love when the show becomes like an episode of The Office.
Office, Parks and Rec type shit. Very, very, very funny. And so relatable too, as like a person who has all these like teacher meetings and stuff like that. Like teachers are always trying to tell people like, hey, be quiet when I'm talking. The students always gotta be quiet when the teacher's talking. But the minute there's a teacher meeting, teachers are talking when other teachers are talking. And it aggravates the fuck out of me. I'm just like, dude, you see adults are speaking right now. People are like, so loud as shit. Anyways, it just, I got war flashback when Daemon was just like, yo, I'm in the middle talking. You're 5 feet away from me. I can hear everything you're saying. God, and they're so haughty too. It's like, they're like, oh, well, you know, they're just, this is what's going on right here. Oh, like they're better than them. Like, oh, what is happening?
Yeah, and then you know, even though like Tori Manderly did give like that like acknowledgement to Rhaenyra about what she did to the highborn, to the high lords, of feeding them rats.
Yeah.
He does like Torin does make that comment of like, well, we gave the money to to Flea Bottom. Like, what do you expect coming from people from Flea Bottom? And again, like very office-esque, like it cuts to like Mysaria and giving him like this like look of like, you fucking pig, basically. It's hilarious.
And I do wonder, we are seeing a lot of Torn Manderly. I go back to Myzaria's thing of like, hey, we're out of money. Who do we blame if we're out of money? The new Master of Coin, Torn Manderly. Are we waiting for the pen to drop, or by the end of the season, they hang Torn Manderly out to try and kill him ruthlessly, or make him a scapegoat or whatever and behead him because he lost their money? Are we like waiting for something bad to happen to this character as a showcase of Rhaenyra's paranoia and craziness or something like that?
Yeah,
I do
I mean,
wonder.
the way that I read it was her. That was the original plan, right? Like, let's
Yeah,
get somebody who we can blame. That was Mysaria's plan, but her plan was not to get this person particularly. But like, she put that move into motion, and that's not even what's happening. What's happening is that the money promises are being blamed on Rhaenyra, and it's being blamed on the people again, like what he was
exactly.
between both of us. Like, it didn't do anything really for Mysaria.
Exactly. So it is it's very troubling, and I want Marzaria to have more of a say during this. But even Daemon isn't doing anything negative. Daemon's like really trying to help with this problem. So where were we? I want to cut back to Ormond real quick.
Yeah.
With Ormond in this fascinating chess game he's having with Darren. I love scenes like this. This is a great scene where, and this is
classic Thrones.
This either before or after Gwaine already talked about how Ormond is very bad at losing chess. So it's very funny how he eventually loses chess to Darren, a Targaryen. He's losing like this little mini game, this little mini contest to Darren, a Targaryen. Meanwhile, Ormond's whole speech is about what Martell? What's her name? Marion Martell.
Maria Martell, yeah.
Marion Martell about how
the yellow toad.
Yeah, the yellow toad. She was so intelligent, didn't look very well, wasn't really the most beautiful, but she was so intelligent that she was skillful enough to thwart Aegon's conquest. Helped go against Aegon when he tried to conquer Dorne. And he really is trying to compare himself through the histories of the world. He's a very scholarly person. Compare himself to her and how he will skillfully, go against Daemon and Rhaenyra and their own 6 dragons. Like, this is his way of doing it. And we're seeing it in motion with the carnage and chaos happening at King's Landing. But we'll see how long that will necessarily last. But he is really trying to compare himself to the people that came before him in a way that makes him, again, superior to Targaryens. And he's really trying to showcase Darren, like, instead of showcasing Targaryen accomplishments, again, we talked about it all last week about how he's slowly trying to strip away the accomplishments of the Targaryens. Whenever we talk about Aegon's conquest, it's like one of the most, huge, biggest accomplishments in Targaryen, the biggest accomplishment in Targaryen history, taking over all of Westeros because of Aegon's ability as a Targaryen with his dragons. Meanwhile, Ormond here is just doing the 1% where he wasn't able to take on Dorne and showcasing that to Darren to like really diminish Targaryen legacy and Targaryen power and say, yeah, Targaryens aren't that strong. People who are smart enough, who are knowledgeable enough, can be stronger than some Targaryens in their own way.
Yeah. What I like about this is that last week, as we were seeing him interact with the lords of Tumbleton and the common people of Tumbleton, and the issue of Rhaenyra kept being brought up, and he would like instantly like try to ridiculize her name of like, oh, what was the phrase that he used, the
bitch
queen,
of dragons,
the bitch of dragons, something like that. And I like that he brings up Maria Martell and how intelligent she was, but he still needs to make it a point that, oh, she was smart for a woman. But like, she was very smart, but like she was like, not very good looking. He still needs to bring. He's like the misogyny in him. Still needs to like bring them down in order to make himself look as good, if not better, than them.
Yeah, great point.
And I really like he's using her as an example of what he's trying to do, of how he's trying to go against the Targaryens and like break the Targaryens despite the power of their dragons. And all of this is happening as he and Darren are playing this board game. I think it's called like Savais or something like that. It's basically like Star Wars, like Savage. Yeah. All this conversation is happening as they're playing, and the move that gives Darren the win is a dragon. He's talking all this shit about like how like we're like better than them, like they might represent this high power, but like at the end of the day, us men, we can overcome these beasts. And what happens? He loses this little innocent game to a dragon. not just to like Darren, who is like symbolically a dragon as a Targaryen, but within the game he loses to a dragon. Again, it was one of these things where like whenever Ryan Condal and his team of writers, his writers' rooms, really locks in with the show, we get some really magical stuff.
It's so much fun, and he crashes out a little bit. Like I love James's acting here, where he's like
a little
really
bit
trying to maintain that calm. Like really puts his hand in his shoulder. Like, oh wait, like I'm crashing out, but I'm gonna make this a lesson for you. Don't apologize for victory. Don't apologize. Like he kind of reverses it. Like I wasn't being upset at myself. I was being more upset at you for saying that you are sorry for defeating me. Don't do that, Darren. Trying to crash out, but then trying to parent Darren in his own weird ways. Great shit from Darren and Aemond as always. But yeah, I did like how he also said earlier, what's it called? That he wants to conscript more people into their army. Like, are average, everyday Templeton citizens going to have to go to war against Rhaenyra's army, even though they supported Rhaenyra's army? Like, this could eventually be happening. This is some sick shit from Ormond's side of things too.
He's doing some Joker shit from the Dark Knight of putting the victims are the clowns and vice versa.
Exactly, some big Joker Heath Ledger type shit. Like, oh, not very good. Like, hey, don't shoot through our people. Too late. They're gonna get burned and killed.
Yeah. One last thing about Ormond that I want to say is, again, like the pure belief in himself of seeing himself and the High Towers as like the superior beings really comes into play when he pulls out that coin, that gold coin with Darren's face, and it's so defying, because not even Otto did that with Aegon. with Aegon. So he's just going that extra step to make a point, like, yeah, we're better than you.
We're better. Again, the whole legitimacy angle. Like, hey, I put his face on a coin. Like, this makes it even more. This is where all your gold went to, by the way. Like this is much more powerful, which is like Ormond is just going above and beyond. It's like, wow, I never expected this. From this show, but it's fun to watch. And that horrible designed Darren, that didn't look shit like Darren.
It looks like a hobbit.
Which is just so funny. If I was Daemon looking at the coin, I'd be like, who the fuck is this? I don't know. But funny enough, it does give Daemon more upset at Darren. Because again, he hasn't really met Darren, but like I get to see in Daemon's mind, like, this Darren mastermind, this asshole. And meanwhile, Darren's just like, I have nothing to do with this. I have no idea what's going on here. So
it's gonna be so funny when he finally does meet the real one, maybe in battle during Templeton.
Like, that's so awkward. It's gonna cut down a 16-year-old for doing nothing. Anyways, what's
back to King's Landing?
Back to King's Landing. Yeah, let's talk about this mystery angle. People are killing Gold Cloaks. 2 were dead prior to this episode.
Still exile.
And then Luther and Daemon find 2 more. Just mangled, guts all over the place. And by the end of the episode, the whole, you can see even Luther Large, what's his name? Largent dead too, and very much what that one Bible shit called.
Oh, the last dinner.
Yeah, the Last
Or
Supper.
the last supper.
Very much like that with a feast for traitors. But this whole angle, my dad texted me, my friends texted me. They're like, "Who's killing these gold cloaks? Are we supposed to just like assume everyday people hired by Ormond is killing gold cloaks?" Edgar, that was my whole thing this episode. That really shook me. 'Cause I'm like, we're gold cloaks. We're trained to fight. We're trained to box. And we're getting killed by everyday people, and we're not visually this. I would have loved to see them get jumped instead of jump cutting to like dead gold cloaks, because gold cloaks always seem so like trained or at least capable in my eyes. But they got killed like stormtroopers in this episode, and I was wondering like, is there like a physical assassin that's capable of doing this, or just like everyday people hired by Ormond gang, overpowering the gold cloaks? Like, how are these gold cloaks getting like boxed so easily and then just set up so decoratively at the end? I'm like, huh? It really kind of surprised me. I don't know how I feel about that.
Yeah, I don't think it's the guy, but just out of memory, I haven't gotten to that scene yet on my rewatch of the episode right now that I had to pause. But at least the guy looked very similar, because it does cut at some point, like in between those scenes of them discovering the bodies. It cuts to like an indoors of one of the houses in Fleet Bottom, and there's like this older guy like kind of like scheming. I thought that guy looked like
send more money.
I thought that guy looks the same as the guy that tried to assault Hugh's wife, but it might just be like they look the same. I don't know if it's the actual guy, but with that in mind, it might just be a case also, because also we just learned that between season 2 and now that it's so easy to infiltrate King's Landing as Rhaenyra did.
It is, yeah.
So it might just be a case of high tower man soldiers like disguising themselves as commoners and doing the deeds.
Okay.
And blaming it on the people and making them look bad in the eyes of Rhaenyra.
For sure. I mean, I think I guess that is like the most easiest explanation. I figured there would just be like, because the whole mystery angle, CSI crime angle going on here with Daemon, I figured there would be like a big culprit, but there never really was. The culprit was just like, oh, it's Ormond from far away sending people to do this. That's kind of like our answer. But I was like waiting for like a group of people, similar to how we didn't get any visions for Aemond. I would have loved to see that, and I would have loved to see at least just one sequence of the Gold Cloaks getting murked, so I could see it in action, see it in place, instead of just jump cutting to like a whole squad of these capable soldiers getting painted up like they just get killed by a comic book villain. Like, it kind of really surprised me. I was like, okay, I guess we're just supposed to believe anybody could, or any good soldier can do this to other capable soldiers. Because Luther Largent was a built like what 6'3" motherfucker. Like, who's killing this guy? Especially when they're more alert that like, hey, somebody's killing us. I figured they'd be more alert, but they just got jumped. They were supposed to just believe it. But okay.
Yeah, I do agree that it's a little bit annoying. Because at this point we're just like left guessing on how these things went down. But yeah. I mean, if I was to play the game of guessing, I would assume that with the last murder, the big murder of all of them being set up in that like Last Supper type of thing, they would probably just poison, and then like they just came in and chopped them up.
I would have, yeah, that makes more sense. That makes more sense. Put some bad moon tea to them and see them throw up some shit. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. But like, that did kind of annoy me. But yeah, I overall though, I do like the tone of this though. I like the tone of seeing Daemon go around with Luther Largent. You mentioned it earlier where he was like, did you really have to beat them all up last week in terms of the whole graffiti nonsense? He's like, hey, you were the one who trained us, which is kind of funny. And then there's this whole murder mystery angle, him rousing the troops, the Prince of Flea Bottom. This whole speech was very, very funny as well, where he's like, you guys, I can't pay you yet, but hey, eventually you guys will become to be so renowned because Rhaenyra and us, we're going to take over Dorne. We're going to be, instead of 7 kingdoms, we'll be 9 kingdoms, and we're going to do all this shit. We're going to remake Old Valyria. And if I'm one of those Gold Cloaks, I'm like, shit ain't got nothing to do with us. I want my money. I don't care about him talking about Old Valyria would have pissed me off even more. I'm like, I have never seen Valyria. You've never seen Valyria. Like, well, this has nothing to do with me. I want my money. Like, this has nothing to do with, like, but they all did it. Hook, line, and sinker. They're like, yeah, Daemon, we love you, man. I'm like, wouldn't have worked on me, but props to Daemon to knowing exactly what to say with these men.
Yeah, he knows his boys.
They love him. But yeah, just seeing that connection. He's losing a lot of people this season. Daemon lost homeboy Simon Strong, yes. And then
he was really sad about that one. He was really sad about Luther.
Yeah, he lost Jay. So, like, he's losing a lot of people.
Yeah. He didn't really care about based on his reaction about Jace, but yeah.
It was something. He cared slightly more than I expected. But yeah, Simon and now Luther is like, damn, these people really are hitting Daemon where it counts, which is very, very, very sad to see. But yeah, I did like the, comic booky goofiness of like the Feast for Traitors. I was like, oh wow, they really went above and beyond sowing this kind of discord around the city. But yeah, I just love. I didn't see this angle really coming up this episode, and I really liked it. It really gave Daemon an interesting plot to follow.
Yeah, and I guess this is sort of tied in because we're talking about how these people are moving around the city, killing all of these men, and simultaneously, as the episode kind of ends on a montage cutting back and forth between Daemon going down to their quarters and Alicent going through the tunnels of King's Landing, and eventually we learn that it's blocked.
We're locked in.
Yeah, who blocked that shit? I mean, it was probably I think this would be a good time to talk about Alicent.
Let's do it.
But staying with that particular moment at the end of the episode of like who blocked the tunnels, I like to think it's almost like a bit of I mean, it wasn't their fault because Daemon is the one who sent blood and cheese in season 2, but I kind of like the notion of them being trapped by their own maneuvers of I mean, I'm assuming Otto is the one who blocked that shit as soon as they learned that people were like going through the tunnels to kill the king, but then they killed the crown prince. But even just symbolically of Alicent being trapped as a consequence of her own actions, not just because of what happened last season with the whole blood and cheese, which I mean, it wasn't her fault, but it was probably the Green's decision to block the tunnels. It's like a nice way to like continue that that theme with her of and the High Towers of them creating their own prison. There's that line in season 1 with Rhaenys of, oh, you think that you're like free, but you just building a window in your own prison type of thing, and that's very much what's happening right now with Alicent.
Yeah, she's stuck in that bird cage. We said it was Helaena being stuck, but Alicent is also stuck in a lot of different ways. But there is an opening. There is an opening for Alicent to get out of. Speaking about Alicent getting stuck, I just remember now one of the other previews for next week's episode is Alicent like outside. So she eventually gets out of this. I don't know if she's outside of Rhaenyra's control, but she's outside of the tunnel. Somebody opens up the door for her either way. I just thought it was very comical. It was just like, now we're stuck, and then they drop the fire, and now they're just in darkness. It was just a chaotic series of unfortunate events for them. But there is a door opening for Alicent metaphorically, and what I mean by this is Myssaria's connection to Alicent as well throughout this episode. They kind of go hand in hand with their storylines, where Alicent is slowly trying to... Yeah, it's so fascinating, right? Alicent not getting any Mother of the Year awards here, trying to get control over Helena's life, but every time she does, she is sacrificing one of Helena's aspects of control and her own autonomy, in that, like, at first she's like, hey, drink the moon tea, say goodbye to what we think is like Maelor Targaryen. It's like, hey, say goodbye to your baby. Rhaenyra will eventually kill it. Your baby has to go. That plan doesn't work. Helaena refuses. Later on, she sells her necklace to be like, okay, we have a way out of here. We'll leave, but it's just you and me. Helena's like, my daughter Jaehaera, what about her? Alicent's like, you're going to have to leave her too. It's like every time she tries to help her, it's like, say goodbye to Maelor. Okay, no. How about say goodbye to Jaehaera? Helaena also says no. So all these maneuvers to try and save Helaena, try and get them out of this cage that they're in, is at the cost of one of Helena's children. Either way, like there is no good upside here. A sacrifice will have to be made in order to just escape out of this awful scenario that they're in.
Yeah, she's asking her to do what she did by selling out Aemond and Aegon, essentially.
Yes.
Which goes back to what I was saying last season with the blood and cheese of it all, and the show's version at least of if Alicent was put in the position that Helena was placed in of having to choose between the son or the daughter, she would have given up the daughter instantly without even thinking about it twice. And Helena essentially, making the decision to purposefully give up the kid, the boy. To me, again, like I've said this before, but I'll say it again. Like it always felt to me like Helena doing something that she knows her mother wouldn't have done for her.
Yeah.
And again, like we're seeing that again with this episode, with this back and forth between Helena and Alicent, and like I really love Fia's Savant last season, and I think she's crushing it again this season.
She's great. She's really stepping into her own, even as she's like getting hit with like what she has to sacrifice. We're seeing that motherly side of Helena with Jaehaera. We're also seeing her, as a daughter who is, coming of age, is being like, hey, I don't want to sacrifice Jaehaera. I don't want to sacrifice my unborn Maelor, my unborn kid. Like, I don't want to have to sacrifice these things just to live. Is that even living? All alongside of just, hey, I need to see the moon. I love Helaena. I love the actress a lot. So doing good work. But another issue I might have with this episode, we'll see where it goes, is the whole, again, Mysaria angle. Mysaria catches them with the moon tea. Alicent drinks it, says, oh, it's just for me. Which cut back to the whole Criston Cole angle of it all, because the time we see us use in House of the Dragon so far, she used it when she was banging Criston Cole. Oops. And then didn't she mentioned Rhaenyra also used it. But did Rhaenyra also use it for Criston Cole too?
For Criston Cole, I
was like,
yeah.
Criston Cole really, on top of Criston Cole, want to commit suicide this episode. It's like, it's all coming back. It's all coming back full circle. Like, oh, you can blame all your problems on Criston Cole, and Criston Cole is blaming all his problems on himself. Very funny. And on top of that, we see Mysaria catching Helaena and Alicent as he's trying to flee at night. He did not think I was going to see this happening, she says. But Alicent's like, hey, don't tell Rhaenyra I can help you because, and this is Alicent's thing. She's like, okay, Rhaenyra is slowly going, or not even slowly, Rhaenyra is more influenced by Daemon, another dragon rider, she says. You won't have, because Alicent kind of like can sense the connection between Mysaria and Rhaenyra. And she's like, you won't have the influence. I can help you, when Rhaenyra chooses Daemon or Rhaenyra, gets too much control or something. She's like, I can help you out here, Mysaria. And we see Mysaria considering this, and then she like closes the door, presumably doesn't tell an Alicent. But I have a small issue with this because Alicent doesn't have any kind of power, any kind of use for Mysaria. Throughout this entire confrontation when Alicent's like really pleading for Mysaria, I'm like, Mysaria, what can Alicent do for you at all right now? What advantage can she help you? I hope this comes full circle later in the season. They prove me wrong where Alicent really does help Mysaria in some way or form. But right now, I'm just like, I would have still just routed on Alicent if I'm Mysaria. Because, yeah, Rhaenyra is getting close with Daemon. And I guess they are trying to sow seeds of like Rhaenyra slowly poking seeds in the Daemon-Rhaenyra relationship. But so far what we've seen is like Daemon, as we mentioned, was right this episode. Like Daemon isn't doing anything negative towards Rhaenyra's actions thus far. Aside from always saying we have dragons, like we have power. Yeah. That's kind of like
anything, the one thing that he's done against Rhaenyra is basically protecting his daughter.
That's true, exactly. Yeah, that's the one thing. But even then, what can Alicent do about that? Alicent has nothing to do with that storyline. So
yeah, but I will say the stuff with Mysaria and Alicent, this was one of those moments where it felt like I was seeing season 1 Alicent again, like scheming and like manipulating some things here and there. very auto of her in a way. But like to your point of what bothered you about it, and again, I'm still like rewatching the episode, but I believe one of the things that she says of like, I used to know you just by name, of, oh, you were the white worm. That's what my father, used to describe you as, um, of how you used to play both sides basically, and it's that back and forth of Allison essentially putting the idea of like, oh yeah, actually I could play both sides and see what benefits me the most. I think that's why my Sarah doesn't say anything, is because she is reminded. I don't know why she didn't thought about it before, but maybe because she was actually like loyal to Rhaenyra. But she is reminded of this thing of like, oh yeah, there are two sides to this conflict, and like, Rhaenyra is like losing it, like not even because she's like mad or anything. She's just like in a really bad place politically. Um, and even though she has like the dragons, politically she's failing, and Ormond is the one who's on top right now. Could she actually get something from the Greens? Probably she has. And knowing the type of person that Ormond is, given that he's like scheming, he would probably have a role for her in his camp if he wanted to, if she wanted to.
That is a good point. I didn't even. Yeah, you're right. You're right. You're slowly warming me up to this scene, because it is like strategically better, even though she is loyal to Rhaenyra, to keep your options open in case anything happens. This is a very tumultuous time in King's Landing and for Rhaenyra in person. And yeah, I think we're seeing that happen in plays where Rhaenyra or Myzaria's like, yeah, she's known for playing both sides, but recently she has been a confidant for Rhaenyra. She has been telling Rhaenyra a lot of information. She's slowly forgetting that, like, yeah, I can keep stuff close to the chest. I don't have to tell Rhaenyra everything. I can be who I always was, which is keeping things for my own security. Like, she did trust Daemon for a time, but then she eventually betrayed Daemon when she needed to. Like, there is a time where she's like, despite the connections that she's having, to keep things close to her chest to help her own ultimate survival at the end of the day, even if she loves Rhaenyra. So yeah, we'll see where this connection goes. But that's about it. Do you have anything else to talk about here?
I don't think so. I mean, I like that scene between Daemon and Rhaenyra at the Septon.
Me too.
That was nice, really well done.
Oh.
I like the concept of Rhaenyra having to be seen by other people praying at these gods that she doesn't even believe. So, and Daemon is like mocking her for that. And then the fact that they're like, they're talking about it, but like they're talking about it in their language, and in the language that these people don't even believe it. They don't even like. That they see as, monstrous or whatever. I just conceptually I really like that scene.
You're right. Yeah, we haven't really talked about Rhaenyra in this episode, and like just personally, singular. But I really liked it in this episode, and that scene really encapsulated Rhaenyra's struggles and her viewpoint on said struggles, where she's talking out, in common tongue, but then two random people walk over and she switches over to High Valyrian. It's just like, it's so funny, right? Like, she really is trying to, open up to the seven, the people that rejected her, the High Seven that rejected her.
Yeah. Assimilating.
Trying to assimilate, trying to do all this. She's really trying to be connected to the gods or whatever, even though she then says, like, why are the gods turning on me? She once again says, like, I have dragons. Like, what more can I ask for? I'm doing all this stuff, but yet Queen of Bastards, but yet people are getting killed on the streets. Like, again, this all has to do with Ormond, but Ormond is really compounding the paranoia and the stress that Rhaenyra is feeling right now, and this scene really encapsulates that. That's why Ormond is such a perfect villain for this time period in Rhaenyra's life, because she's already dealing with these things even before Ormond was even a thing, but now Ormond's orchestrated chaos is really adding to the stress and paranoia and her sense of identity as a Targaryen and as a rightful ruler to this realm. And at the same time, Daemon is there to comfort her, but also combat her, being just like, you don't need to do all this. You don't need to be here right now. This is ridiculous. We have dragons. Let me handle all this. So, it is just very, very, very fun to see them like this.
Yeah. Shout out to the cats of King's Landing.
Oh
Just
yeah,
like
lots
chilling.
of great cats. Yeah.
Honestly, probably the cats know who's murdering all of these people at this point.
Yeah, somebody asked the cats. Are
With
most
the
of these
ring
cats?
cameras.
Are these like real cats, or are some of these CGI?
No, they're real cats. They put out a video of the cats that they cast for the show, and at some point, I don't know why they did it, but they did it. Maybe to just keep track of where they were on set, but they put like these rigs on them, and they put like a ring camera in their chest, and like they just like show like the perspective of the cats, like going
That's so
through like
cool.
the red keep. I'm like, give me a spin off of the cats, like just like going to like a small council meeting or something.
Oh, I love that. I love that. Yeah, I love the cats in this episode. Thank you, Alan, for the smart, should be already known idea. Like, yeah, when there's rats, use cats. So thank you that.
Yeah.
We also saw Alan at the council table looking awkward as hell too. So he's fulfilling Corliss's ideas there. But yeah, fun episode all the way around. We'll see more chaos happen, more fights happen in the episodes to come. 3 more episodes to go. So yeah, find me at Harris EV9. We're back next Monday. In other fantasy news, they did finally showcase a first look image at Lord of the Rings of Power season 3. We got a first look at Sauron today. I love that show personally. I know surprisingly some people were mixed on season 2, but like season 2 I adored. I really loved season 2. So I'm really, really excited. Hopefully they can continue that momentum into season 3. I'm very, very happy for that show. Coming, I think is it next month? Is it August or is it September? I don't know when this
I don't know. Haven't kept up with that.
But I'm excited for that show to come back. Yeah. Find me at Harris EV9.
I might try to rewatch at least season 2 before season 3. But yeah, good time to be a fantasy nerd between this, that, the Odyssey in theaters. Will I be watching that for the 5th time sometime this week? Of course.
How many times have you gone already?
I've seen it 4 times now.
4 times. I've done twice. I'm going for a 3rd time confirmed. My mom, who was out of town last weekend, so I'm going to see it with her this weekend. And then my 4th viewing is in 70mm next week. So I'll be seeing it 4 times at least too. So
yeah, I'm excited so far. Like I've seen it twice in 70 IMAX. I've seen it once in standard IMAX. I've seen it once in just 70mm, and I will say maybe my favorite version so far has been the 70mm. It's just very clean. It's it's not like that expansive image, but it feels very classical. To like.
Oh wait, so you said twice in 70mm IMAX and then once in just regular 70mm?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know they were doing like regular 70mm.
Yeah. Okay. Some AMCs have them, not all of them. But yeah, I think that's been my favorite version of the movie so far. I do want to do Dolby before, just because I know it also kind of has like an expansive aspect ratio. I think the standard IMAX is like 1.90. The Dolby, depending on the screen that you go to, is like 1.85, so it's not that much of a difference.
Okay, interesting.
And another thing, I think IMAX, like digital IMAX, the standard IMAX, it might be the cleanest version. Like there's more like contrast. You can see more of the actors like features, like in the dark, especially like in the scenes in Edgar, like in the hall during the dinner scenes. So yeah, that's been very fun. Great movie. We'll talk about it.
Are you gonna try to see the Odyssey in Infinity Vision as well, Edgar?
No, that doesn't exist. That's not real. Literally, we made it up.
Did everybody get their Avengers Doomsday? I woke up late as a bitch. Not late, but like I remember going to bed and it being like, 9 a.m. possible trailer drop. I slept into like 11 a.m. and I woke up. I'm like, oh shit, tickets. I got easy tickets. Like I was like, why was this easier to get than Spider-Man Brand New Day? That was shocking to me. I'm like, maybe because it was like 9 a.m., but also Spider-Man is 9 a.m. too. So I don't know. Like this was easy for me. I got my Thursday and Saturday tickets for.
Yeah, it was easy for me too for this and Spider-Man. I actually woke up like 2 hours after Spider-Man. I just went on the Fandango ticket for like the Amazon like early screening, and I was just able to grab a ticket and like without a problem. I was like, okay, cool.
Nice.
And then this morning I woke up immediately. For some reason the AMC app like locked me out and it wouldn't let me get a ticket. So I was like, I'll just drive 10 minutes to the fucking kiosk machine outside of the AMC. And
are you 10 minutes from the theater?
Well, it depends on where I go. I have like 1, 2, 3. I have like 4 AMCs around me.
This motherfucker. I have 2. What's up? Okay. Yeah, I have too.
But yeah,
That's crazy. But okay, yeah.
yeah. You can find me at EDG or TEG on all social medias. You can find my review for the Odyssey at Loud and Clear Reviews. Yeah, we'll be here next week, next Monday, breaking down episode 6, battle episode maybe. We'll see, most likely. But yeah, we will see you guys on the next one. Bye bye.